have doing anything.
Okay, so from a look standpoint, okay, let's talk about the guitars. Let's start with the Dave era guitars.
Okay.
What's your favorite guitar from the first 6 albums?
I really love the white and black.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to get one of the EVH Stripe series, I'm probably going to start with that one. I've never owned one. I like the Shark. I've got a Shark hanging over there, just like the one you have sitting over there. Right. The one I have is this era.
I love
the 5150, which he started playing, I guess, in '84. I think I've never seen anything before that. But Dion Edge is a guitar builder in Nashville, and I got this from him right when we started doing our the Van Halen band that I had. Mm-hmm. So I got this guitar about 11 years ago, I guess, from Dion. And up until a few weeks ago, it had a very special strap hooked right here to these. And I took it back to Zeke Clark. It was a prototype that Zeke and Ed worked on together.
Oh, wow.
And so that was hanging on this guitar. I played all the Dan Halen gigs with it. It never came off the guitar.
So did Zeke give it to you or what?
He let me borrow it for many, many years.
Wow.
I hollered at Zeke, checked on him after he passed, and we texted back and forth. I reminded him I had it. I said, just to remind you, that guitar strap you gave or you lent me is still on the guitar, and it's yours when you want it. And he said, oh, thank you so much. So I met up with him a few weeks ago. He's doing great. It's back with its rightful owner.
Did he get his most? I remember he got a lot of stuff stolen. Did he get it most of it back?
I think if he didn't get everything back, he got most everything back.
Good.
That's all taken care of. So yeah, he's doing great. He's been with Kenny Chesney for years now. So I've befriended him around the time Dan Halen started. So he actually got to set that guitar up, and he built the first one. He cut the wood and everything. Like he built that one. So not that one, but he built the one. It's copied after. So I was having him set it up the way he set up, Ed. So it was pretty cool. He's a great guy.
Yeah, I knew he was in Nashville, and somebody had come to me with, I forget, he was selling some stuff, and somebody passed me a note and said he's got a few things, and it was a few different oddball things. That like one of them was an amp that was it wasn't a Marshall or anything. It was a Trainer or some weird thing that he had, and apparently Ed played it, and so did Prince, which was weird. But
he built the cymbal guitar.
He did
for Prince, yeah. So he was. I don't know if he was ever. I don't know if he was Prince's tech. He may have been. I do not know, but I do know he built that guitar.
Okay,
for Prince.
That's cool.
So, yeah,
amazing. So let's talk about a different kind of truth, and then we'll talk more about replicas a little bit. But different kind of truth. The lead up to that, I mean, it was like it's like after all these years, man, we're going to get a Van Halen album with Roth. So what was your impression of that, of Tattoo? Were you into it, not into it?
I didn't like that one. By the time I heard that one, I had heard other songs off the album that had leaked out and just like clips. So I knew what was coming. And I also knew that they had gone back and reworked a lot of the demos that never got recorded and took those pieces of songs and made songs out of them. So I was extremely excited to hear which ones they picked, because I knew all those pretty well. Didn't really dig Tattoo that much. I like it more now, to be honest, when I listen to it. That was what, so it starts or it ends with the beginning of You're No Good, which Ed had already written for something else. I don't know, but then the Tattoo riff is what's the song that it's from, the old song.
Yeah, there's a couple, they're threaded throughout. I think there might be a few new songs, like Honey Baby Sweetie Doll might have been something that was.
I think As Is was a newer one.
Yeah.
Tattoo was, I forgot the name of the song. It's cool. Funny enough, Jeremy found this when Van Halen played the Black Sabbath show here in Nashville, where Sabbath didn't show up or Ozzy didn't show up. They played twice. They played that tune.
Oh, okay.
The Tattoo song, whatever the song Tattoo came from, they played that. I can't think of the name to save my life right now, but they did that gig. They did it at the gig.
They filled it in. They filled, yeah, because that was, my first guest was Mike Simmons, who was
he was there.
He was at the show. So, yeah, he was talking about, he didn't remember exactly what they added on, but he said that they kept going over to the side of the stage and coming back out, playing more, trying to, and I think Noel Monk's book said that they knew it was going to be bad when they said, got to cancel the show, and they hit the back door, man. They're gone.
Yeah, we got to go. Yeah.
Well, this Riot starts. And sure enough, it's turned out to be a little bit of a melee at the end, but yeah, that was apparently for him a mind-blowing event.
Oh, yeah. I mean, imagine not only never hearing that before, never seeing that before, and seeing it and hearing it at the age he was in one time. I can't imagine what happened. That's incredible.
Crushing, right?
Thinking about them opening for first on the bill, of 3, like with the Journey tour,
right.
It's like seeing that for the first time. And it's that's just it's life changing.
Right. So on Different Kind of Truth, you had Chinatown, which I thought was really cool.
I love Chinatown. Yeah, it's a killer song. That sounds like it's a newer one too.
Yeah. When I was a few years back, Ross Hogarth, who did the production on the album, he did a clinic up at near Blackbird there in Berry Hill.
Yeah.
At the at the Vintage was it Vintage King?
Sure. Yeah.
So he came and he brought the multi-tracks. So we got to listen to Chinatown without Roth, but we got to hear the multi-tracks of that.
Oh my God.
And he soloed the solo for that. And after he finished, I turned to him and I said, "That was one take, wasn't it? I didn't hear any comps." He goes, "Yeah, it was a one take solo. He didn't comp any of that. That's called it crazy tapping at the end, and it was entirely one take, that solo."
Yeah, and that's great. One thing I do love about that record is that it's still, when it goes to the guitar solo, there's not many songs that have rhythm guitar.
Right.
It's still like Van Halen, like guitar, bass, drums. When it hits the solo section, it's just like, wow. And to think how, those guys were almost 60 when they cut that, and it's still like songs like that as is are so heavy and so progressive. It's like, wow, man. Yeah, they're still on fire.
And it was a very diversified album in terms of
really was
tunes. You had so many different kinds of vibes and tempos and Ed was sometimes doing crazy shred, and sometimes he was doing things that were more like atomic punk, that were more phased out, and obviously I think Wolfgang went to him and said, we need to use these songs,
yeah.
And as I've gone through I've always wanted to cover one of the undone songs. I've seen one, Jacob DeRaps, a guy that's really good from Canada, I think, that's done a few things with this really good cover guy. He did one of their songs, We Die Bold, it's called. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah. Sure, I remember that.
They did a remake of that, and they modernized it. And it's out there.
Oh, that's cool.
It's out on video. And,
I'll find that.
And so when I saw that, I thought, damn, I got to find something else, because there's a couple things I ran across over the years that I found in their demos. I thought that right there, that riff, that song.
Yeah, for me, Let's Get Rockin' was the number one that riff, and then the fact that it made it on Is Out of Space.
Right.
And on the record, it's like, all right, cool. That one, but Bullet Head.
Yeah,
that one was good. That one pretty much went on almost the same, I think, because I've got older versions of that. And there wasn't much. Even the lyrics, I think, maybe kind of the same. The chorus is, so yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy how good it came out.
Oh, I love it. I play that equally as often as any other Van Halen record.
Yeah, I'm with you.
My rotation.
It's in my car right now.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. I'm just funny. I'm doing a podcast. Some friends of mine, Growing Up Rock podcast. They're doing a Van Halen album special. And I'm doing that.
Awesome.
So we're doing it. We're doing it soon. It's the last one they're doing. So yeah, we're doing that record.
Yeah, I think that that record. It did pretty well. I mean,
Yeah.
in physical sales, I think too. And of course, I've got the vinyl for it here.
I've got the double red vinyl.
That's what I got too. And
it really sounds fantastic. The CD sounded way better than the download, different mix even, but the record still, that sounds like, oh man, this is a Van Halen record.
Yeah.
It really is great. For me, it isn't an afterthought like, oh, they did that one. It's just like, no, it's in there. It's in the canon. It's great.
So great to have a real physical album for their final album.
Yeah. And in fact, that actually happened. And there's one final statement, and it's a great statement. I mean, it really is. I mean, I can't think of anything better to do for Van Halen than to go back and take some of those tunes and rework them and modernize them and put a more modern stamp on it, but it sounds, like classic Van Halen.
So you think Wolfgang will ever go back and touch any of that stuff?
I don't know. There's so much. I think at some point they'll go back in and dig through some stuff. I mean, it seemed like all the guy did was just record. So there's just tapes in there. So, I mean, I can't imagine starting a process like that. Where do you start? How do you keep it organized? How do you decide what goes where and what makes it, what makes the album, what doesn't, I wouldn't even know.
There's a clip of Eddie in 5150. I think it was the one released later where MTV went there and around 98 when Sharon was in there. And he said that they had cataloged all this. Don Landy and him had on a computer that was really old early on, right? And,
sure.
And it dumped all of the records, and he lost everything on what was what on those walls. So he had it all cataloged at one point, and he lost everything. So I think Wolfgang and his brother might be there for a long time trying to figure out what to do with all that.
What the hell to do? Yeah, what a task that would be. Just a huge undertaking. But I'd like to hear some of it, But
yeah, Well, let's talk about a few more things. One thing would be what guitar from the Hagar era.
The one that sticks out is that the kind of the brown quilt, the pound cake guitar.
Oh yeah.
Like that. I love that one. But I mean, I love this one because this is Hagar era too. Right. So I gotta probably go with this guy. But man, you've got some Wolfgangs, right?
Yeah, I got tons. I got a first year right there. Can you see that one?
Oh, nice. Man, the EVH Wolfgangs, like the actual EVH brand, those are absolutely fantastic instruments. They're so great. I'd love to have one.
Yeah, I've got this.
They're so comfortable.
They are. They're. Eddie was smaller, in stature, so obviously the body was crafted to fit him. And because when you think about the 5150, it's a pretty large guitar. When you watch the videos and say 82 Diver Down, it's a large guitar on him. Mm-hmm. And it seemed like he was trying to go for not only for something different, but ergonomic for him.
Yeah,
the scale, the size of the neck, the feel of it all, the whole thing.
Right.
Compared to some of these replicas like this neck that I've got here, which is supposed to be an exact replica of that first neck on that first album. It's a fairly small profile across it, but this body is all ash, right? That I have. Yeah. It's heavy as hell, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's heavy as hell. That's going to be like a Les Paul when I'm finished with it.
Yeah.
And I just I guess I didn't realize that people had said that Frankenstein is not that heavy. A few people like Steve Brown had played it,
Yeah.
And had a chance to pick it up. And they've said it's not as heavy. Now, swamp ash or ash kind of has different weights. And so it could be just a rare, lighter piece, or whatever.
Yeah. If it wood, it can be the same kind of wood, but you never know.
Right.
It's all different.
Yeah, you can never tell. So that guitar. So I guess the last thing to talk about is, and probably the saddest thing to talk about is that he's not here anymore.
Yeah.
And that, I don't know if I talked to you that week or not. I'm sure I did talk to you that week that he passed because we were all all the Van Halen people were going back and forth. People were, we were all kind of checking on each other and saying, it was where were you and when you heard?
I was sitting on right over here at my little bar area eating lunch, and I just opened Instagram and I saw Wolfgang's post.
Yeah.
So I saw it there first and immediately just yelled and shut my phone down, and I just heard it ding, 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 silence, just out. So I stayed that way for a couple days.
Wow. So you got into your messages and you saw how much stuff was going on, right?
Yeah, I'm very thankful. I saw Wolfgang's post first, because the other message, I went back and looked, a lot of the messages just said like EVH died. I'm like, I'm glad that wasn't how I found out.
Right.
With those two words, it's like that. So I did that, talked to Christopher Williams. I called Matt Harris, who was our David Lee Roth in our band, talked to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fuck. Still is hard, man. It's crazy. I realized how lucky I'd been, like with death. Like my parents still living, I hadn't lost somebody like that. Important.
Sure.
Like nobody like that impacted me that much had ever died. So I'm very lucky as far as that kind of thing goes. But yeah, man, it welled me for like a week. And it was pretty tough. And I've never met the guy. That's what's crazy. It's like, somebody so well and you never met them, but you just connected with them, and whatever they did, what they made, you related to so much. I did, countless people all over the world, not even guitar players. That was the amazing thing. Like how many people reacted and posted things, and how much, many people he really did affect, with just like not just music, but the, watching the Smithsonian interview that you got to go to, watching that interview and really getting a feel for what kind of an innovator he was, as an inventor, as he not only changed guitar playing, he changed guitar construction. He changed how they made the instrument. He changed how they made amps. He changed like the equipment. Like that is an impact, and now change pop culture with the stripe design. I mean, it's just incredible what all came from that guy and that guy's brain. And you learn about his immigration story, and you learn about his childhood and everything. It's really amazing that how far his reach went. How far his influence went way out of music, and people would start just building and tinkering with things because they liked Van Halen and he did this, and it was all different and new. And, it was just a really inspiring story, not only for guitar players or musicians, but for just, people in general.
Yeah, he was like the source. He was like the source.
Yeah.
Of so many things. I've told my wife this. I said, understand that when we walk through NAMM and we look around in NAMM, you can almost on every corner see something that Eddie Van Halen was part of the inspiration of.
Absolutely.
Every little detail, man, they're everywhere. It's like it's like fairy dust on everything that it blows your mind when you think about how many things that you see as you walk through there that were inspired in some way by what he did.
Yeah. Steve Vai has a great quote about it. I'm paraphrasing it here, but it's like, genius is when your unconventional approach becomes convention. And that's exactly what Eddie did. I mean, nobody had ever done anything like what he was doing with playing and with the guitar that he built. Like it was all new. But then after him, everybody did it.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody did it.
Yeah, man. It was like...
it changed everything.
I know.
And it's just like such a crazy thing. It's like overnight. It's like this guy's totally from another planet, and everybody wanted to be from that planet.
I know. What Mike Simmons said in his interview. He said when I saw him, he was wearing Capuzzo shoes, and I had to go buy some just like it.
I actually in high school I made my own striped Converse because I saw Ed wearing them. Right. I'm like, well, where can you buy those? You couldn't buy them yet from Eddie. So I got a pair of red ones and striped them up white and black. And I still want a pair of those W shoes.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
He was there was a bunch of photos of him with the guitar, these white low-top sneakers with big W on it. I'm still looking for those.
When I was doing this show recently, because you had said this, that you had worn the 81 outfit before. Right?
Oh yeah, that was the one we did. I wore the striped pulled up socks and everything. Yeah, I even shaved my chest for that fucking gig.
Where's Waldo, right? So
exactly.
When I was growing up, man, for some reason I didn't get a lot of exposure to Waldo. I didn't know much about Where's Waldo. I remember it vaguely. So when we did the gig, everybody was like, "You're Waldo." I'm like, I kind of knew, but then I went and looked it up, and I was like, "Yeah, I remember these little things, Yeah, and that thing." But the the outfit, man, the shoes that he wore were wrestling shoes, I think.
Yeah,
right. And there's this weird thing that happened in about 82, 83, 84, where the wrestling shoes became like a thing. You remember that?
Yeah, I had a pair. I had a pair in high school too. Totally.
George Lynch had them. All the guitar players had them. So I bought some. Of course, I had to have those.
And A6 wrestling shoes.
Right. So I had to figure out what was it about these shoes that these guys are into. Well, there is a thing with them. You're very, when you're moving around a lot, they're very stable.
Yeah.
And they do.
I should check.
They're flat. Yeah. Too, and the foot is very flat.
Yeah, my back is kind of not really taken very kindly to my high heel boots anymore, so I might check out I might revisit some of those.
Well, I had to buy a pair for the show, right? So I'm buying them on it, and I put them on. I was like, "Wow, this is so weird putting these back on after all this."
Yeah,
but he like that. I swear, man, that like things like that. I don't remember anybody else wearing that for Eddie, and then everybody wore it, or there's so many like the guitar striping and graphics, that came from that. He was the first guy to do any of that. Graphics, I mean, the stripes, but there was that explosion of graphics in the 80s.
Yeah. Which all came from that because, I mean, the guitars just had guitar finishes.
Yeah, right.
And there wasn't this thing, and it was like this. All of a sudden, these, it became way more. They had colors, but it was very traditional colors. And all of a sudden, it was just blown wide open, and like all these big, bright colors and stripes and stings, and the reflectors on the back, and all that stuff. It just became a very DIY, and hey, whatever you want to put on here is cool.
Yeah, everybody wanted to have their own. They wanted to have their own thing. Like they wanted to do Eddie, but their own way. Their own
Eddie Van Halen
like
way.
They had even back then, it wasn't like we all wanted to have the exact stripes that he had. We just wanted to do our own version of whatever that was.
Yeah, it's like I want to come up with something for me that's as cool as that.
Exactly.
But I can't do it.
Isn't that cool though that somebody came up with something that inspired you to all these people to do something, not exactly what he did, but in the spirit of.
Exactly, not the copycat, but that's again amazing, and you really get a feel of that from watching that awesome Smithsonian interview. It was such an inspiration for people to go do their own thing and make their own music or build their own car or make their own whatever. You just do your own thing and do it your way, and it was going to be all right.
Right. I said this to somebody that one of the things Eddie did for me was that he gave me this vision of being able to do something that I love to do. That I love to do, that I want to get up every day and go do for work. As a musician. So that, I dabbled into the corporate world because it just came towards me, and I did that. But man, after 15 years in that environment, I came back to music full time, and I thought, why did I ever veer from what I love so much?
Well, but you did. But that's another thing too. You had an opportunity and you went and gave it a shot, and now you did that. And then you came back, and now you're like, okay, well, I did that. It was all right for a while, and that's I think that's all that stuff is learning experience. Like I take most opportunities that come my way. I take them. I don't care what it is. I fucking did stand up comedy last night for the first time.
Right.
Any kind of thing I can do that's out of the box or not in my supposed wheelhouse. I do. Just because you don't know where that'll lead you.
Sure.
So that's, the spirit of, exploration again, like Ed, always exploring, always trying to find things. That's all part of it. And so,
I think you're right. I think that we, as a cultural icon that he is, you had touched on it, that it was so much bigger than just guitar players.
Yeah,
and so much more. I mean, like everybody knew who he was. The Valerie Bertinelli thing kind of made him more visible,
right?
to the general public, but Beat It made him really visible.
Yes, exactly.
And then of course '84 blew up right after that, and then it just stratospherically put him out there in a place. I can't really think of anybody maybe other than Hendrix that had that kind of cultural. They had that kind of cultural awareness of him.
Right, exactly. And a big thing with Eddie, it needs to be mentioned, we haven't talked about it, is his smile.
Oh, dude.
The fact that the entire time you saw him playing guitar, he had a smile on his face. That's why I do it.
Sure.
When I play, I'm not, for sure there's a fair amount of posturing and, mugging and stuff with that. But if you do a show and all you're doing is pouting and, and faking it, you're faking it. I do a little bit of that too, but, if you don't ever just like lay back and just have just smile because you're just really enjoying yourself, and it's all posturing and that, and it's like, come on, you be real a little bit.
People do,
and that was Eddie was the guy that showed it was okay to kind of do that and smile, and especially playing heavier kind of music. Zeppelin didn't smile a lot. Sabbath didn't smile a lot. You know what I mean? Sure. A lot of those groups didn't, and here comes these guys just grinning.
Right. Yeah.
I'm very proud. I'm very proud that I'm in the most smiling band in heavy metal.
I tell you what, you might
balls
to the wall. You're smiling, balls to the wall, balls to the wall, man.
It's all smiles with us on stage. And that's okay. And I think that's another reason that humanized Eddie a lot is because of that, and made him seem like he was enjoying himself as much as anybody could enjoy doing anything in the world when he was, playing his music and playing his guitar. It may have been true. But that was a big, big deal for me. I think it was a big, big deal in him, and his relatability to people. It's like, oh, look at that. He's just having the best time. He's not being like, larger than life. The guys in Kiss weren't even human. You know what I mean? It's like, here's this kid, curly haired, cute kid smiling. It was a big, big, big part of it, I think.
I do think that his appeal, like to me and you, that huge part of that was that connection that he made across the screen somehow.
Yeah.
And when I met him in person, I got to see that smile in person, and he flashed that smile in the photo, and that smile is what Miles Kennedy said it in a quote that I put on the end of the last video, where I can't remember exactly, but I'll paraphrase it as well. As he said something about the smile was what brought you in and captured you, and then and then the wink and the smile is what dared you to follow in his footsteps.
Yeah,
to try to be not him, but try to achieve like him, or try to be. To achieve your dreams or follow your
and he would always play it down. He would always be just like, I'm just a punk kid that plays guitar. He never acted like it was anything. He was doing anything that somebody else couldn't do. Oh yeah. He was always very humble in interviews, and that was a big thing. Like, this great way to put it.
Yeah, you and I know. I mean, you and I know a lot of people that have interfaced with him. I had a short meeting with him, but pretty much everyone says that he's humble. He was humble, and that he was just a regular guy. I said this in the last interview with Damon, that Damon told me he was just a regular guy, and I kind of yelled at him. I said, dude, he's the guy that played on Van Halen 1. What are you talking about? Yeah. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So it's been a while since we had that conversation, but it was, it was hard. It's hard to separate that this guy's a human.
It is like when you listen to guitar, he could have definitely easily had gone another route with his like persona, but there was no persona.
Right.
That was him. That was really him. There wasn't like a thing, an act put on. It was completely him, which, brought you in even closer, which made you feel like you really kind of knew the guy even without ever even coming close to meeting him,
You ever notice that when you play that somebody will come up to you, because you're like me, you're pure of heart with this thing, you go on stage, it's what you love to do, and people recognize that in you? Do people tell you?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And again, I'm not, it's fun, and it's just posing and having fun, but there's always a smile, and I never take anything too seriously, especially myself, and I always just have fun with it and grin. And luckily, I'm in a bunch of bands that I really, really do love to play with people that I love playing with. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I'll mention, Eddie is one of my favorite guitar players ever and biggest influences, but then I don't sound like him when I'm just playing regular, because if I do, I sound like Eddie Van Halen. Like I dove in so hard to the tribute band thing that now if I do some of the licks, it's like I don't tap at all, because I can't tap without sounding like Eddie.
Sure.
So I did throw a couple things on the Accept record. I did a big tremolo picking thing. I finally got the how he does it. I finally got it right, like last year. The hanging the guitar here and doing the fat hummingbird picking.
Yeah.
I finally got it.
It's hard to do, man.
It's hard to do, and I finally got whatever. And it's now I can fly. It's really fun. Wow. But that's as close as I'll get to doing like a Van Halen type lick. But people were very surprised when they go, "Don't really hear it." And I'm like, "Well, I don't pull it out because it sounds like him."
Right. Yeah. Like it's. I had a lot of other influences too, like you did. I mean, you're doing a Beatles thing right now.
Yeah.
You grew up on a lot of that music. We all grew up on other things. I loved Gary Moore. I loved Michael Schenker. I loved all the staples that we both probably loved. Even Wolf Hoffman was a guy that I listened to a lot when I was young. Those albums too, and those tones. I was after I saw Van Halen, I was hungry for more of whatever that was. Like, is there more of this?
Yeah, exactly.
Are there more guitar players? Like, is there more?
Yeah.
Is there that sound somewhere else? Because to me, at the time, I guess distortion and that was sort of just becoming. I mean, we knew about Zeppelin and their older Marshalls, but the modern sound that Eddie Van Halen introduced to the world through his sound,
right,
which started that whole generation that goes all through this new metal and modern and hard rock. Because of the 5150 amp and that whole generation. But at that time, man, there just wasn't that sound in every amp. You just couldn't get it.
No. And it's cool now. You go back and you can hear it in Mountain. You can hear like Leslie West, like, okay, that's, you got them there. And then ZZ Top. I think there's way more connection between those two bands than anybody gives credit. Those two guitar players, Eddie and Billy Gibbons. Mm-hmm. You can hear it in ZZ Top records. You can, and of course the Beano record with Clapton. Mm-hmm. That was his big one. And you can go back now, knowing what you know about Ed and what he loved. You can go back and listen to those things and go, okay, I'm hearing that, and kind of those. I can think of those three players, West, Gibbons, and Clapton, that were really big tone influences on him too.
Yeah, you can hear like in When It's Love, he does that little bluesy solo in that,
Yeah, and even playing and phrasing, vibrato, the big Leslie West, and even tone, the way those guys, Leslie West, it did have a sound of like the amp on fire, like those old Mountain stuff. It's just right. Never in my life. It's just crushing for that time. And I think Ed got that thing with the heavier ZZ Top sound, and the Beano thing and kind of formed his own thing. But those are the three main guys I think that shaped that.
Yeah, because
the tone wise,
we go back to the clubs and Starwood and all that with them, with George Lynch and Randy Rhoads and Eddie.
Yep.
And they're all using those, late 60s, early 70s, and then later those late 70s Marshall JMPs, which I had one. You played through that. We were here before. Yep. And, they just need boost in front or volume. One of the two. Yeah. Mainly volume back then. they're ear splitting loud. And right. You turn them on and they're already that way, Oh, you put it on 2 and you're dead. I mean,
yeah, you're dead. You're dead.
It's
the cleanest, loudest sound you ever heard in your life.
Right. I've always wanted to bring over some of these people that have never heard one of those heads, like some of my younger musicians that have never had a chance to hear a Marshall, like even on 4, and other than trying not to hurt them.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I don't know that their young ears could take it.
Yeah.
It would be it's like driving a Ferrari.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, get in this car and ride and get ready.
They're like 11 years old, giving them a testosterone. Say, here, kid, take it by
Watch out.
Yeah.
But, there is something to this whole moving air thing that I swear to God, man, that ever since I've stood in front of a 412 or stack with a Marshall 412, there is like a little cellular excitement that happens inside your body.
Completely.
Like I walk out of the room just buzzing from it.
Yep. It is absolutely on a cellular level. It
literally cutting through you.
There's
something to that. And Ed, they talk about how Ed listened to his playback in studio at blistering levels. Everybody talks about that. But I read in a lot of his interviews that he just loved to feel it. He loved to feel it.
Yep. And I used to say that because he'd have full stacks. It's like, are all those on? He's like, only the bottoms, because you want your leg hairs to move, not the hairs on your head. Your head to move. Yeah.
Well, we know that his hearing took a hit, So one last thing to talk about was 2015, the tour. Did you see that tour?
I did. St. Louis.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I went to St. Louis and saw that one. So glad I went to that. What a set list, opening with Light Up the Sky.
Yep.
They pulled out a lot of obscurities in a simple rhyme during movies.
Right.
And they had actually dropped, not my show, they were still playing the full set list, but soon after St. Louis, they had dropped a couple of the super obscure ones. So I'm really glad that I got to see when I got to go. Feel Your Love Tonight they played. Great show. That show, Dave was really good that night too, but if your last name was Van Halen, you were levitating.
Right.
The three Van Halens were absolutely on fire.
Were you outside or inside on that one?
Outside.
Me too. I was in Birmingham outside. And I tell you what, whoever was running front of house for them on that tour, dude, the guitar sounds were the best. Yeah,
it was great. It was truly great. I'm really glad that was, if I had to have a last show, that was a good one to see.
Yeah, the guitar tones were, I was like, okay, the Stealth, I need one of those.
Yeah.
Because if that's what they sound like, I want it.
Yeah. The one I want the lunchbox. The little bitty. I can't believe how
Stealth.
good that thing sounds.
The little black one? Stealth?
Oh, man. The little tiny, the little tiny terror size one.
Yeah.
Man, I can't believe how good that thing sounds. The clean tone especially is amazing. But, man, that thing rips.
You're talking about the Stealth version?
I think so. The one with the smallest one.
Yeah, they have three versions of the small one. There's a Stealth version of it, and then there's the white and black version of it, and an original. There's three different ones.
Oh, I might have played the original, but Todd Zilla went over and he got 1 year when they came out years ago. He goes, dude, you got to come over and play this thing.
Yeah,
he's like, it is phenomenal.
Yeah, a friend of mine handed me one. He goes, here, try it out for a night. I didn't have time to get it in there. I was like, God, meant to play.
It's all the tone because I had the big 120 watt, whatever, the big first white EV8, the new one
I had that
weighed,
300
pounds. Sounded great, but good God, that thing was loud. And this thing has all the tone in like a lunchbox size package. It's awesome.
That is crazy. Did you see I got the little Friedman one?
I know you're loving that thing.
It's pretty cool. Little baby.
That's Friedman, man. The thing is, it's so great they're making for us older guys that don't want to carry shit anymore. They're making these great sounding things. I'm Kemper, and I got a Kemper, and I love mine to death. But if I did a lot of gigs in town and played a lot, I'll tell you what I would buy. I'd buy those little bitty Marshalls they made now, the 20 watts. Mm-hmm. I'd get the Plexi one and the matching vertical 212 cabinet. Hands down, that thing is incredible.
Yeah, I've played through that in the 800 version.
Oh, man. And they make a Silver Jubilee now, too.
Yeah. I've got the real Jubilee back there, but, man, talk about backbreaking, dude.
And there's no point in doing it anymore because you don't have to. It's like with
And then front of house bust your balls anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It's just better.
Up your butt anyway about it.
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
you can crank it up and you can have your tone, and it's just this is very comfortable. You can have a conversation over it, but it still sounds screaming.
I don't know if you saw that in Damon's interview yet, but at the end of it, he got his old Ibanez Destroyer back.
Yep, I saw that.
You see that?
Yeah.
What an amazing story. And that guitar, I had an '83 Roadstar. It was my first guitar.
Oh, nice.
And it had those Super 80 pickups in it that were the previous to the Super 70s, which were the ones that supposedly were in the original. But everybody says now it's a Super Distortion that was in there potentially. Then he recorded it and all that. There's a lot of, obviously people have been, Pete Thorne's done a video with 50 pickups in it or something. And it's amazing that the nerdness of guitar building and amp tweaking and all of this stuff we talked about earlier about Van Halen and how he sent us down these paths, man.
Yeah. And it's amazing, like, at the level of, nerddom, digging deep, that deep. And it's like, nope, that pickup isn't right. Nope, it's the other one. It's like, well, it may have been the right one in his hands. It's not going to sound the same, in anybody else's hands, but it is cool that people are that devoted to it. And, for Van Halen stuff, the top Jimmy Kemper profiles are absolutely dead on, man. They're so great.
Isn't that wild, dude?
It's really amazing. It's like sorcery.
I forgot which kid did this, but there was a kid who done a profile for Eruption, or I think it was Eruption. And he had a video of it, man. It was so on, man. It was crazy.
The onboard effects in the Kemper, the phaser and the flanger, don't sound the same. So you really do need the pedals. Yeah. So when I did the Van Halen show, tribute show, I guess, late last year.
Yep. With Mike.
I think it was, or was it earlier this year? I can't remember. God, it's weird.
I think it's earlier this year.
it's a big blur. So I used the Kemper profiles, and there's, he has them for each of the Dave records. So I used those, and then I used the phaser and flanger, and then I also used EP booster, the exotic Echoplex booster. Mark Slaughter actually bought that for me. Oh, really? He sent that to me. Yeah. So I used that, and I left that on the whole time. And for the Sammy era stuff, I took a newer EVH amp profile and just modified it, put the micro pitch on a little bit, and did a pretty good one. I think I was pretty proud of that one. I made those, and the top Jimmy ones, you just can play them as you buy them. They're absolutely phenomenal.
Okay, but what I really want to know is, where the hell did you get the jumpsuit, bro? Not the jumpsuit. You had the overalls on.
Oh, the overalls.
Jeremy had the jumpsuit on.
Those were white overalls that I dyed red and striped myself. And I'd had those. I made them actually there was a big Nashville Drummers Jam show a few years ago that did an Alex show. So I made them for that. I played a couple songs at that show. So I made them for that. Only time I wore them. And I wasn't going to I didn't want to do the full tribute for this. I just wanted to kind of play. And I was like, man, I'm never probably going to wear these again. It's like, I'm never going to probably have an excuse to wear them. I was like, so I kind of I took a break, and Mike Simmons played a few songs, and I went and changed and put those on and brought them back out. So I wore them for the last few songs of both shows. So
yeah, I'm sure people loved it, man.
Yeah.
I tell you what, my first show for Van Halen tribute was about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And I was shocked, man, how well it went. I mean, it was raining like hell that day, and we managed to get the show in, but the response and what really, I don't know if it shocked me, but we had never done any of the Sammy era songs really live, and we did that night. We did Why Can't This Be Love, Pound Cake, and I actually did One Way to Rock too, because they covered it right.
Yeah,
and they went so well, man. We're going on to Dreams, and we're going to go on to
we did, because I'd never really dug with my Van Halen band. We had a Dave that is just, and we didn't know him. Paul and Mike Simmons brought him in because he's the singer in their band, White and the Black. Okay, and I never met Charlie at all, and Paul, and I was like, I need a Sammy. guy pretty bad. And Paulie's like, he's good. I'm like, you say he's good. Great. He's in. I remember before rehearsal, I think we did Judgment Day first. And we get done with that one. And we all stop and look at Charlie and we're like, where the hell have you been? Like, we all yelled at Paulie, like, you're introducing this guy to us now? And he was just great. What a sweetheart guy he is. And I'm trying to think if that was all the Sammy songs that we did. No, we did 5150 as well. So we did a few tunes, and they went over great too, because that stuff is there's nothing to sneeze at all in any of those songs, man. Those are so tough.
Hey, you dropped out for a second. Tell me the songs you did again.
Oh, sorry. We did. So I remember with Judgment Day, we did 5150. We did Summer Nights. We did Best of Both Worlds. We did AFU.
Oh, yeah. Awesome.
And we may have done one more, but I know we did those because, AFU is one of the best ones, I think. And I never saw them play that. They never played Summer Nights ever for whatever reason. And those songs are so great. So we did those tunes. And Charlie was just killed it. And yeah, those songs are musically no joke. Like, getting all that stuff down is extremely difficult.
I did the solo too. Why can't this be love? And I thought, and I think I posted about, why is everything that he does weird and hard to, even the simple shit?
Man, even just playing the song and making sure you can go from part to part correctly. It's like, man, Ed is hard. 5150 is almost like an I'm the One to me, because like the entire thing is extremely difficult. It never gets easy.
Yeah.
I mean, even from the intro to the solo to the end of the song, the whole thing is hard. And just the way how do you come up with something like that? And then it's the most catchy, I'll meet you half the way. It's a big ending chorus, and it's just, like I said, the songwriting on that stuff is just another level. And how he gets from part to part, and the transition things that he does to get from part to part, it's incredible. And it's such a task to learn that stuff, but you're such a better player after like getting your head around it and going, oh, wow. Yeah. You can actually kind of halfway do it, and you do really learn a lot. Right, from learning all that stuff.
I tell you what, just from the few months that we've been putting in on it, man, going and doing my other songs seem like a breeze. Everything seems so much easier. Oh, like, this is a no problem, man. I can do all these songs in my sleep.
It's like, oh, cool, Ted Nugent covers again. Awesome, man. I can do. Let me have this.
No problem. It's like, if your confidence level goes through the roof, you're like, oh, I can.
Yeah.
Do it.
It really is like when you sit down with one of those songs, it really is kind of a task. Hang 'em High was mine. We did it at this last one, but that was the last one I had to really conquer because I never had tried to do that. Again, the entire thing's hard. When you sit down with something like that and you can make sense of it and you can get it and you can play it, fluidly and play it. It's just it is a big confidence booster. And it's like, wow, all right, cool. I can, you're not playing it like him. But if you can make sense about it, get comfortable with it, where you're not really like, having to really concentrate on it, all white knuckling tense, when you can get comfortable. And for me, when I'm doing the jumps, it's like, if I can play it and do all the jumps and run around in circles and stuff, I'm good. That's a whole other thing that we did in our band was, I did the herkies and all the moves and stuff. So if you can get all that stuff down, you're good. I feel good about it.
It is such a task, and I never realized because for the longest time when he was alive, I was kind of like, I had a hard time embracing any kind of tribute thing at that time years ago, and then, and then I gave it a shot. Well, actually, it was an accident. We did a dress-up show, and then I realized how much people loved it, Yeah, I had a band that would do themed dress-ups. We would do like one.
Yes,
we did Devo. We wore the yellow suits,
and the energy domes. Yeah,
right. Hot as hell. Looked like hell.
Yeah,
but damn it, people loved it. So I just kind of came to the realization that people wanted that kind of show. They wanted more of that, more entertainment value in it. And I was like, you know what? We had done a couple tributes to Van Halen, like sets.
Yeah.
And we were like, 5 songs, 10 songs away from a whole show. And we're like, well, let's just give this a shot. What the hell, you know?
Yeah.
And then he had passed, and it just, I don't know, I just felt enough time had passed. I felt good about going out and doing it, and then I realized how freaking hard it's gonna be,
and how hot it is, playing in a wig.
Right, dude? Oh my god!
There's nowhere for the hot air to escape.
I'm telling you, when I had hair like yours, man, I remember how damn hot it was. It's just as hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's brutal, but man.
It is.
So let's close on the finish of the 2007-2008 show. When you walk out of there, you feel like you finally conquered it.
Yeah, it was leaving that show. It was like, I'm a kid again. I was leaving a show like when I was in high school, which I hadn't felt like that in a long time. But leaving that, it was just like, I didn't get a shirt for some crazy reason. I don't know why.
I just the Running with the Devil girl one's the one I got. The girl with the devil.
Nice. And I don't even know why. I could have got, the classic logo one that said Tour 07. I'm like, why didn't I get that one? It's weird. But yeah, it just felt so great that you'd seen it. And you didn't know if it was going to happen the next day, but it was, it was just so much fun. And I'm so glad I did pick to go to that show, because that probably is, like you said, the feeling in the venue. And, I saw that first one back. I saw those two guys performing together again that, I really wanted to see so bad.
I'll tell you what, comparing it to 84, when I was at 84, it was the same level of excitement and pitch, the whole vibe of it was very similar from what I remember being 16 and being at that show. They were the biggest thing in the world in 84. And
yeah.
And then, coming back and with Roth and with that much anticipation for that many people who had, like yourself, some people had never had a chance. So
yeah.
It was one of the iconic and most historic shows that they ever did. And I'm glad we were both there.
Yeah, that's so funny. That's funny. Me and Jeremy were there, and I didn't know Christopher Williams at the time, the drummer. He was there. I didn't know Matt Harris, our Dave. He was there. I didn't know all them at the time. We all kind of made this pilgrimage on our own to the show.
Wow. It's funny, but we were talking about this the other day that with Mike, is that back in the day we didn't know about out of town shows because they just didn't. You didn't have a way to know.
Right.
So you didn't go to Atlanta to see Van Halen. You went home at your home venues to see everything.
Yeah.
But luckily, in the age of 07, we were able to do all of that. And he still.
And it was a day's drive. It was an easy trip, 6 hours for me.
Yeah,
it's like,
easy drive over there, and I enjoyed going over there for that. It was a good place to start. I thought it was cool.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, I really appreciate you taking some time, man, today.
Dude, anytime, man. I'll talk about Van Halen with you anytime, man.
I know, man.
You know that.
I wanted to say this earlier and I didn't, but when people talk about me and you, they always say we're the Van Halen guys. We're that circle of people they call the Van Halen guys. Everybody that's on this show is going to be a Van Halen guy, I'm sure.
Yeah.
There's somebody that their whole career and existence probably sprung from this one guy. It's unbelievable.
Absolutely. I'm proud to be in that circle. I'm very proud that people think of me that way.
Right? Is that not right?
It's good. It's good company. It's me and you and Mike Simmons and Damon and my buddies Ryan and Jeremy and all those guys. So good company.
Everybody in that group of people, we have such a love for this that there's absolutely no way that we could ever disagree on anything.
I know. Yeah, it's just like a bunch of you guys going, yeah. I love that.